Hi, this is Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that. Today we are doing a video response to the 25 invisible privileges of male gamers. I'm titling it Gendered Privileges in Video Games. And remember, at the end of the day, it is what you can do for your team that defines you as a gamer, not what's between your legs. Now, as I mentioned, this is a video response. Mr. McIntosh, I don't know if that's MAC or MC. I apologize if I'm getting whichever one wrong. But Mr. McIntosh released a video about the 25 things that men have that women don't when it comes to video games. And the entire list is bullshit. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off right there. It is bullshit. I've listened to it several times, and, I really try to get into people's shoes, really try to understand their mindset when making this stuff. But in all honesty, the only thing I can see is that you're being purposely dishonest. Or you're taking some isolated incidences and trying to blame an entire narrative, an entire group of people, in this case, men. So this is going to be a two-part episode today. The first part is that I'm going to respond to some of the things in the videos. Now, I'm not going to respond to every single thing in the video. One, that would take too long, and two, most of it is not really worth talking about. That's just how absurd it is. But I have selected out a few key points that I want to talk about a little bit more. The other reason is that a lot of the points were just the same point made again, but just worded a little bit differently to sound like it was something completely different. And that's just a very dishonest tactic of bolstering your list. I mean, if you had 15 points, just say you had 15 points or 10 points if you hadn't. The only reason to say that you have 25 is to try to make yourself sound more official, or that you just had a lot of guys volunteer to do this. I do give kudos to Thunderfoot for pointing out that you can tell that they're reading off of either a cue card or a teleprompter. They're reading their responses. You're telling me that they couldn't memorize these things? They only had to read a small little part. And I don't know, it just takes away your legitimacy that they're actually sitting there reading it rather than just saying it. Because it doesn't seem to be their personal points. It just seems to be an agenda that you're trying to narrate, and they're just reading for a part. These are not necessarily their views. I'm sure they'll say it's their views because, well, it supports Anita, but the second part, I will be discussing some interviews I've done. Now, I will be talking about some of my personal experiences in gaming and my interactions with females within gaming. But, John talks about, or rather Mr. McIntosh talks about, I apologize using your first name, but Mr. McIntosh talks about, because he is a white male, this message will be more received versus if he was not white or a male. And that is such bullshit. I mean, have you ever been on Tumblr? One of the worst things you can possibly be is exactly what I am. White, male, straight. That's the worst thing you could possibly be. Very few people will actually listen to you if you state that you're a straight white male. Hell, anyone who's listening right now, if you want to go ahead and disconnect right now because I'm a straight white male, feel free to do so. I'll go ahead and wait. Oh, you're still here? Okay, let's continue. I mean, you're off your rocker if you think that anyone takes the word of a straight white male. And Thunderfoot, captured it brilliantly that Rick Perry got more downvotes than upvotes for his campaign commercial. I think it was a difference of like 200,000 versus 20,000. So 10 times more people voted him down than up. And he is a straight white male. So get out of here with that bullshit. And that alone, I discredit everything you have to say. But then again, I wouldn't really have an episode at this point. Oh man, where do you get this stuff? Do you have like a comedy writer in the background or something that's like saying, it'd be really funny if we say that because you're a straight white male, people will take you more seriously. Because, here's the flip side to it. That if I go on Tumblr and I, say something bad to everyone that is opposite to me, I would be accused of being a racist, a sexist, a misogynist, and a bigot. But you say bad things to someone who's straight, white, and male, it's perfectly okay. There is no harm, no foul, and I can't complain about it because I'm a privileged class. I'm straight white male. No one can say anything bad to me ever. And if I even suggest that someone has, well then I need to check my privilege. All right, so like I said, I'm only going to name off a couple of things and then talk about the interviews that I did. Now, before I go into that, I do want to mention who I had for an interview. I've actually started chatting with some members of the Badger Brigade, the Honey Badger Brigade, and a couple of them are representative of that group, and others are others that I interviewed are internet personalities, whether on Twitter or YouTube. They have allowed me to share their names with you. They are Sour Grape, Rachel, Kelsey, Hannah, Gwen Lily Knight, and Gemma. I'll be posting their information down below for you to check out. Very good people. So, let me see where I'm at right now. Oh, I do want... Yeah, oh, no, I already mentioned that. So, moving on. 1, I can remain oblivious to the harassment that women face. I really tried looking for the harassment that women faced. I interviewed like 6 different females that are also gamers. And, when I talk about that, I will go into more detail, but they all basically said the same thing. They receive no harassment. Or if they do, it's very, very tiny. And it's more of a nuisance than a harassment. But I really tried looking for it. Do you think out of 6 women, I might have found one that said, oh, yeah, I've been harassed and, I just decided I didn't want to be a gamer or I had to leave the game altogether and went to a new one. You think I'd find 1 out of 6? I didn't. Okay, number 3. Yeah, I'm skipping 2. I'm not going to address 2. Number 3, men can post their information without fear of being harassed. That is so stupid. Anytime you post your information online, you run the risk of being harassed. Hell, having an account is getting harassed. You know how many people that I consider my allies on Tumblr that get harassed just for having a difference of opinion to feminists? They're men, women, gay, straight, lesbian, black, white, purple, what have you. Yes, I am I can't think of that word when you make something more than it actually is. Brain dead. But seriously, if it's not your gender or your race or your sexuality that people have a problem with, it's whether or not you disagree with the main narrative that women are oppressed in our society. If you disagree with feminists, you get harassed. That's where the battle line is drawn. Not for race, not for gender, not for personal beliefs beyond that of feminism. It's either feminist or nothing. Like how I quoted Nerf there. It's Nerf or nothing. All right, number 4. Providing cred in gaming. Well, I'll tell you what. As a guild leader of a Star Wars guild, Star Wars: The Old Republic, when I question a person about their capabilities for doing an operation because I needed to form a group together, it had nothing to do with the fact that they might have been male or female. Oftentimes, I didn't know until they were already in the operations, and I could give a shit less. I cared if they were experienced as a gamer, if they have run that operation before, and whether or not, and if they weren't experienced and it was just a basic simple run, I could take them and train them a little bit. But if it was something more serious, then I needed a more experienced player. I could care less of their gender. All I care about is if they can accomplish it. Why is that such a hard thing? Oh, well, you're just questioning me because I'm a female. Fuck that shit. I'm not questioning if you're a female. I'm questioning if you can do it. Do you know your class? Do you know your rotation? Do you know how to facilitate your role as your specific thing? Whether healer, damage dealer, tank. Can you do that? You can? Good. Come join our team. Oh, you happen to be a female? Who the fuck cares? Oh, you're a male? Who the fuck cares? I just want you to do your job. I'm usually a bit more social than that. I'm not really swearing at them, but that's just my viewpoint. That's what most gamer viewpoints are. It doesn't matter. So why are you making a big deal about it? Number 8, ask women to speak for their gender. I guess you could say that I'm doing that here, but then again, I interviewed multiple women to ask them about their experience and their friends' experience that happen to be female. So, but I don't know. It's often asked of males as well. Can you explain your experience? Can you explain the experience that others have experienced? I don't think that's necessarily out of question, but I don't think that's such a big deal. It's like, well, as a gamer who's female, what has your experience been? What other experiences have you and your friends experienced? There's no shame in that. Being represented for a group for a small period of time. And if someone has a problem with that, they can say, go fuck yourself. Seriously. Your gender reflecting, number 9, your gender reflecting your skills. Now, I kind of already touched on that. We can see how this is kind of repeating itself. Male, female, anything else in between or outside of that, just do your job. That's all I want. I want to get the loot at the end. Games are designed by men for men. Well, there are games that appeal to men and some for women. However, we have a lot of crossover with this. I once remember talking to Daniel James once, who was part of the company 3 Rings. I don't know if he's there anymore, but back in the day he was. And they made the game Puzzle Pirates. This was a game that was designed specifically for women. And to their surprise, they had equal number of men. Just because something was designed for a specific demographic doesn't mean that other demographics can't play it. It just means that they know that most of their sales will come from a specific demographic. There is no crime in a game being specifically targeted to males, especially for hardcore games. Call of Duty series. What was that? Well, I'm not so good at the FPSs anymore. But, these first-person shooter games do appeal mostly to males. Is that to say that women can't play them? No. Feel free to play them. Just be aware of the gaming culture that comes with it. And if you don't like it, get out. Go to somewhere else. Go to another server. Create your own server. I don't care. But if you have a problem with it, mute players, something. But you're welcome to join in. You're welcome to be a part of the culture that comes with first-person shooters. Hide their gender to avoid harassment. Most of the females I've spoken to, some have stated that they hide their gender not because of harassment, but for the opposite thing, for privilege. They don't want preferential treatment. They don't want, oh, you're a female, let me make you some items and let me go ahead and help you with this quest. They just wanted to be treated like a gamer. Now, you could probably take that as harassment. It's like, all these people wanting to do special things for me. I'm being so oppressed right now. They're helping me power level and giving me all of these items. Whatever. Yeah, I felt bad for saying that. But I think it is legitimate that oftentimes what we see in games is that if someone has a female avatar, other gamers are more willing to help them than someone who has a male avatar, unless that male avatar specifically states that they're female. We call it white knighting, but it basically is that. Now, in my guild, I kind of put a stop to that. Especially my officers, I told them, look, if someone needs help in our guild, we help them. And oftentimes, I stopped what I was doing. I was usually in the middle of something. I'd go helping a guildmate, male or female. I wouldn't help them power level, but maybe they're stuck on a boss and they can't get past it. Now, especially if they're a healer class, that's really hard to do. Now, Star Wars, you did have your companions, but they mostly sucked at first. So but that does exist that girls do get preferential treatment over male gamers, and that is something to really be concerned with. And it shouldn't happen, but it does. But the idea that they get harassed, that's just really hard for me to believe. I've never seen it, and the women that I talk to have never seen it. And, I put their opinions far above yours, Mr. McIntosh, far above Anita Sarkeesian's. Not just because I'm friends with them, but they have demonstrated that they know their stuff when it comes to gaming. That if they told me that this game was really good, I would go play it based on that opinion alone. That's how much they've impressed me as gamers. Not just as female gamers alone. That's all they are to me. They're gamers. They happen to be female, but they're gamers. All right. Being trash talked because of gender. Well, here's the thing. It's game culture. And this is something that a lot of feminists and Anita Sarkeesian doesn't seem to want to understand, that trash talk exists. In gaming culture, it's very prevalent that gamers will trash talk each other. Now, sometimes it's the opposing player trying to get under your skin, trying to, say something that will distract you long enough to that was interesting. Basically distract you. Yeah, I just got distracted there. But distract you long enough to make a mistake so they can pwn you. That's just the nature of it. Or even within the guild. I had this within my guild where we trash talk each other. My second in command was female. Now, she wasn't my second in command because she was a female, but because in my guild we had like the master and Padawan relationship where we would train members who are lower on the totem pole how to be more experienced players within the game. And she was one of my Padawans at one point in time. And we had grown a close bond, and she got promoted to officer, and about, I don't know, 6-8 months down the line, I made her my second in command because I found that I relied on her a lot and that she had a good relationship with everyone else. But we used to trash talk each other all the time. We usually just have arguments. It's like, well, you're stupid. Well, your face is stupid. Well, your mom's stupid. Your mom's face is stupid. Your mom's face is stupid. Stupid shit like that. It's innocent, but sometimes, we would attack each other on gender. She was a feminist too, but she would attack me on my gender. I would attack her on her gender. We would flirt with each other. Sometimes it got sexual, and I knew her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was another officer in the guild, and I actually talked to him. It's like, are you really cool with this? And he's like, oh yeah, man, it's harmless fun. Hell, me and him flirted a few times, and we're both straight. Trash talking comes with the territory, but I want to read a quote by Gemma. She said it very eloquently. People trash talk in games for everything. If you have a squeaky voice, you'll get picked on for it. If you aren't pulling your weight and die in the fire all the time, you'll get picked on for it. It's trash talking. It's what gamers do. Picking out you are a girl is a fast way to throw you off your game. That is what your opponent is trying to do. Throw you off your game. If I was a 300-pound man and they could see me play, I would get picked on for that. Trash talkers go for the quickest route they can to make fun of you. That's it. Guys in my guild get shit for being French. Just for being French. That's it. And I can't really say it better than that, though I certainly tried. It's just part of culture. And, if you're female, you're going to get trash talk for that. Me being male, I'm going to get trash talk for that. I'm going to get trash talk for a variety of things. I have a tough skin. But it's wrong to come into a room or a server where everyone is trash talking each other and expect them to change for you because you don't want people trash talking you. Well, either put everyone on ignore or leave. Because they're perfectly happy where they're at. They don't need you trying to come in and change things because you're a little bit more sensitive than that. Grow the fuck up. Point number 24, pointing out sexism. You won't be judged on your gender or politics. It basically saying, well, sexism, this or that. And it's like, well, we won't listen to you. You're female. Look, you can talk about sexism all you want. That's fine. And we're not going to judge you based on your gender or your politics unless you misrepresent facts and subscribe to the victimization mentality. Then we're going to judge you. That's what we'll do. If you try to say that, all men are rapists, yeah, we're going to come after you for that because we're men. And we don't like to hear that shit. And if we debate you or criticize you, that's not fucking harassment. It's not harassment for someone to disagree with you. It's not a harassment for someone to say, well, what resources do you have? Feminists, you need to get off this high horse that you have, that you're untouchable. You make an argument, someone's going to argue against you. And if your argument cannot stand up to that sort of criticism, then get the fuck out. Get out of the conversation. Get out of feminism. I have no problem with a girl being a feminist, so long as she represents the proper facts. Facts that can be proven. Facts that have been demonstrated time and time again to be correct. But misrepresenting facts, And I'm going to call you out on it. And if your immediate response is, oh, they're oppressing me because they disagree with me. Shut up. Just shut the fuck up. Now you see why I changed my name to the Angry Egalitarian. Okay, 25. I kind of already covered this, but I'm going to cover it again. White men's voice carries more weight. That's why, Mr. McIntosh, that you blocked the commenting and showing how people rated it, right? I mean, I can vote a yay or a nay, but you're not going to let anyone else see that. Just show that how many people actually rated it. So it makes it look like a lot of people supported you. And I'm sure you're going to try to bolster that number and say, hey, everyone, why don't you go ahead and get this a high rate so I can demonstrate that I get more likes, even though it's probably downvotes, it's more downvotes, but no one can see that, than Anita, so I can say, oh, well, people only responded to this because I'm a white male. So dishonest. If you wanted an honest discourse, if you truly wanted to prove your point that because you're a white male, you're going to get more attention, then be a fucking man. That's right, I said it. Be a fucking man. Turn on your fucking comments. I leave my comments on. Everyone's free to post whatever they want. I'm not going to respond to all of them, but, you know, if I see something worth responding to, I just might. But you better believe I'll read them. But then I'm not a coward. I'm willing to put myself out there by leaving my comments on and my likes and dislikes. Hell, you know, I get 100,000 dislikes. That's not going to stop me from making videos. I get 900,000 people sending me nasty shit on my comments. Not going to stop me from doing videos. But you're not going to even do either one of those. But you're a white male gamer, so, you know, you have more power. More people are going to listen to you than your girlfriend, Anita Sarkeesian. I apologize if you're not actually boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't really know what your relationship is. I just presume. Maybe that's wrong of me. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the interviews that I had. Now, once again, I'll mention them again. I interviewed Sour Grape, Rachel, Kelsey, Hannah, Gwen Lily Knight, and Gemma. Again, I'll post their information down below to their Twitters and their blogs and their YouTubes, whichever one I can find first. So before I read my conclusions, because, you know, I interviewed them all separately, and I got some notes down, and then I compiled some information that will kind of sum up what all of them said. I went ahead and got down a specific quote that they had that kind of really facilitates their beliefs. Not all encompassing, but, you know, I tried to find the best one that really adds to this. So I'll start with Sour Grape. I play with people all the time, unfortunately. I like to primarily play games by myself, but then comes in Dungeons and Dragons Online, Neverwinter, or Left 4 Dead 2, or the countless other multiplayer time teasers. And then I have to deal with fun people. But then again, people are meant to be fun, aren't they? Rachel. The more difficult the game, the less likely you are to find people out there trying to hook up. It's very true. Kelsey, in gaming, I doubt it. If it's purely in the game, that sort of thing doesn't happen. We're talking about harassment here. Outside, yeah, it does, I'm sure. I think it's good for them to speak out. But at the same time, it shouldn't be about being the victim or something. It should be about informing people what to do if that happens, who to contact, acknowledge that there would be bad people and how to deal with them, when the police should be contacted or when it's just a nuisance. Information is far more powerful a tool than legislation. Hannah, the worst harassment I received was in response to my writing about a false accusation case versus then being a gamer. Win Lily Knight. Most of the harassment comes out of playing League of Legends. And it's not gender based. No one knows your gender or race or religion. So it's generic and everyone gets it. As you can see, people are messaging. If your relationship were Pokemon, I guess I'll have to check that out later. College humor. Someone posted a quote link. All right, so very true point. I mean, you're going to get harassment as a gamer. Well, not harassment. You're going to get shit talk as a gamer. You can see that as harassment if you want. You're going to get it. That's the nature of being a gamer. Lastly, Gemma. I know I quoted Gemma before, but I wanted to give her a second quote because it was very good. Yeah, I know quite a few female gamers. And I think that's the problem of harassment towards women in games. It comes from people who do not understand games and the culture surrounding it. They see this kind of trash talk and they don't feel welcome. But it's not about them. You fit in or you make your own culture. You don't barge in and tell people who do like it that you need to change everything to suit you or you're a misogynist. That is the problem gamers have with these people. They do not like gamers or the culture. Very powerful words, and it's very true. Don't just come into a room and expect people to change according to you. Who the fuck are you to demand such a thing? These people are perfectly happy, and you're the one who comes in and it's like, oh, you're speaking such negative comment. I can't be here anymore. I'm being oppressed. Grow up. Just fucking grow up. You voluntarily came in there, and you can voluntarily leave. No one's forcing you to stay. No one's forcing you to go. But if gamers want to give each other shit, then that is the culture that they have built for themselves. And they were perfectly happy until you came along and demanded change to facilitate your own ego. I was talking to someone and they were telling me that, this is basically like bullying and telling children to toughen up, to take the abuse. Well, the difference between a bully and gaming culture is actually quite simple. And I'm sure some of you feminists will try to use this argument against me. That's why I'm bringing it up now. And then I'll get to the conclusion. The difference between a bully and going into gaming culture where they harass each other or give each other shit is that a bully is someone who usually seeks out a target specifically to try to find them, to torture them, to abuse them, to fight them, to beat them up, to bring fear into them, to steal their lunch money, and continue this abuse knowing that they won't tell anyone about it because there's nothing that can really be done about this. Sometimes there can, but most of the time there isn't. And of course, when boys have to deal with this, usually the response they get if they do try to say something is, boys will be boys. Unlike gaming culture, when you go into a room, you voluntarily went into that environment. And yeah, they might attack you for being a girl, but they're attacking each other for all sorts of stupid shit. If the worst thing they call you is being a girl, you get off lucky, in all honesty. I've been given shit talk before. Hell, in my guild, we gave it to each other. I'm the fucking guild leader and they gave it to me. And I just took it. And I gave it back. That's just what it is. Now, the thing with bullying is that you can't really leave the situation. that usually you're just harassed. You might be able to avoid it, but it's like when you're in the middle of a fight, you can't really leave the fight. You might be able to run away, but you still have to deal with it the next day or the next week. And the argument I was given on this is like, well, they could decide not to go to school. Well, unfortunately, it's against the law not to go to school, depending on your age. Usually, if you're a young child being bullied, you still have to go to school. Well, they can be homeschooled. Well, the problem with that is it's not a child's decision to be homeschooled. It's a parent's decision. And it's up to the parent to maintain the educational level that the child needs. So the difference between being bullied and going into a gaming culture environment is that you volunteer to go into that situation. You can volunteer to leave, unlike dealing with a bully who you can't voluntarily go into a situation to be beat up. They're going to seek you out and torture you. They're going to do some bullshit to you, and it's going to be hard to get rid of that problem. You can't just volunteer out of it. So that's the difference between gaming culture and being bullied. So you want to go in there, you want to volunteer to go in there, grow some fucking tough skin. All right, so let us go to the conclusions. So this was something I kind of collected from all of them. I'm not going to really say who said what, because this is just something that was kind of shared by all of them, so I'm just going to read it through. So of the 6 women that I interviewed, majority of them said the following: receives very little harassment in games, usually annoyances that can either be dealt with directly or putting the player on mute. I mean, that's providing yourself with agency. If someone's giving you shit that you don't like, mute them. Or if someone flirts with you because you're a female, say, you know what, I'm not interested. Or I'm married, or I'm gay. Deal with the problem directly, and they'll most likely leave you alone. Most received harassment outside of gaming from others, mostly females. I mentioned what Hannah said, but many don't receive harassment in video games, but they receive a lot of it outside of it because they're often of a different opinion of the main narrative of feminism, or some social standing that other people don't like about them. Any issues online, the most severe issues were by other women. We do see vindictive people online. Men and women are capable of being vindictive and doing a lot of bad shit to a guild. But the general consensus is that women tend to be a lot better at being vindictive and can often cause guilds to crumble or to split or cause serious rifts with people. I've seen this before, not so much with females, but I have seen male gamers do this where they'll come in and start demanding things from everyone. It's like, someone give me 100,000 credits. For what? You're level 6. What do you need 100,000 for? Oh, well, I really want to get something. Well, you don't need it. Just play the game. No. Someone has to give it to me. Damn, you're being demanding. I've seen others who try to get up in the ranks and try to throw their weight around to try to get the things they want. Or, at first we were very open about the guild bank. It's like, look, stuff are there. We'll put everyone on the honor system. And then, I still put restrictions on there, but they were not that strict. And eventually they didn't clean us out, but they certainly removed enough for us to notice. And I'm like, okay, so, we now have to put more restrictions on. But there will always be individuals that will try to get things their way and won't care who stands in their path to get it. So, but again, and I'm sure I'm getting booed for this. Boo! For saying that women are better at being vindictive than males. I mean, women want to be better at everything than males, right? Why can't you have that? All right, where was I? Some men do try to hit on girls when gender is revealed, but they're able to say not interested and move on. We talked about dealing directly with it. Some avoid revealing gender in fear of getting special treatment. We talked about this before. They will often take steps to hide their gender so people treat them as a gamer and not a girl to give gifts to. This is something we do see, and I mentioned this before, but when a girl comes on, whether in voice or just in chat, and it's like, hey, I need help, men seem to stumble all over each other just to try to help that specific gamer. It's not that bad, but you do see hints of it. Female avatars will get more attention than male avatars. But to suggest that this might be considered harassment, wow, I don't know what to really say about that, but you're off your rocker if you think that. Especially since, males don't really receive any special treatment in games. I don't care what that video said. Okay, where was I? Keep losing my place. And yes, I'm reading off of a list right now. I know I criticized Mr. McIntosh for having them read it off, but these are my notes that I wrote for myself. So, but most of what I say, I'm doing off the top of my head. I have a general idea of what I'm trying to say. So, even though they hide their gender, they will still receive shit talk, not because of personal details, but because they're gamers. They don't reveal anything about their gender, their sexuality, or anything like that, and they still receive shit talk. Go figure. So while some avoid revealing their gender, many do reveal their gender and have really no problem with it. Someone might flirt with them, as we mentioned before, and they'll say, hey, I'm not interested, move on and have fun. Felt that shit talk is part of the gaming culture. We have discussed this in great detail, so I won't really go into it. But there is also that males are afraid that a female cannot handle shit talk. Males will often shit talk each other. They might say something to a girl, but they'll try to go a safe route until a girl can demonstrate that she can handle it. Felt that the narrative by Anti-Gamergate is a false one, that women are targeted in gaming. They felt that this was a very false dichotomy, that all women are harassed in video games. They're not. This is proof that they're not. 6 women who have basically stated they're not harassed in video games. Any incidences that might have occurred that, it might have happened. But these are the exceptions to the rules. These are not minor incidents. These are, God, my vocabulary sucks. These are isolated incidences and not something that should reflect the greater whole of gaming. Let's see. Most players tend to only care if you can help the team. It's like I said, what I was screaming about. I care if you know how to use your class, know your rotations, can fill the role that we need you to fill. I don't care what your gender is. I just want to complete the operation. I tend to prefer people in the voice chat because it's a lot easier to communicate what I need people to do. And that's when I generally find out if they're male or female, unless they don't have a microphone but can still at least hear. But even then, I really don't care. Dislike media depiction of gamers being basement-dwelling males who hate women. Well, I mean, that's why we have Not Your Shield. Because most gamers are not even that. Most gamers are not male. They're a variety of things. It, if you accept the study that says that 50% of gamers are women, I don't accept that because it includes things like flash games that you find on Facebook. And I'm sorry, but those are casual gamers. And gamers tend to represent something more hardcore. That's my personal feeling. But if you take on the, if you choose to decide that anyone who has ever touched a computer to play a game to be a gamer, then 50% of them are female. So depending on how you want to look at that study, saying that they're all basement-dwelling men is insulting a large percentage of gamers. A very large part. Recognize that games are an escape from reality, just to hang out and have fun. And lastly, dislikes when girls use the argument of sexism to excuse their lack of skill. Like, oh, well, it's because I'm a woman that no one wants me on their team. Bullshit. It's probably because you suck as a gamer. They want someone who's going to help them win, not someone because they're a woman. So this is my video response. I saw that Mr. Repzion has posted a video response that looks to be about 40 minutes long. I'll definitely go and check that out. So if you want like a more detailed, reading of that list, probably go check out his channel or check out Thunderfoot. I believe that there's many others who are doing stuff as well. So definitely check that out. But, I knew that me being a straight white male, no one's really going to give a shit about what I have to say. That's why I decided to interview 6 females who are gamers. They're not girl gamers, they're not female gamers, they're gamers who happen to be female. And that's the way I see them. And you know what? It seems pretty consistent to me. I mean, not one of them had said that they'd ever received any harassment. And many of them are very forthcoming about being female. It may happen. It probably does happen. But like I said, exceptions to the rules. These are isolated cases. And you shouldn't use these as a way to look at all of gaming. You know that to be dishonest, Mr. McIntosh. You look like a smart guy. Given, some of the things I've seen of you, you look like a pretty smart guy. So you know this is wrong. And I can only assume that you're doing it to try to get more money. You can't take a small sample size and look at a greater whole. Now, yeah, I took 6 random gamers to make a deduction about it, but we're talking about 6 random people. But I'm at least acknowledging the possibility that it does happen. But I'm also basing it off of my own experience as being a male gamer and dealing with other male gamers and dealing with other female gamers. And my own experience tells me that this is an uncommon occurrence. And I'm sure I could find 100 women, and a small fraction of them will say that they've ever been harassed to the level that you're saying. And that the majority of them. And if I had $160,000, I'm sure I could do it. But I don't. I don't have any money. So I'm likely to believe the experiences of these 6 women and myself and the other many gamers I've talked to over the years. What you're describing doesn't exist, not to the level that you're suggesting. Anyways, that's all I have to say on this subject. I'm Mad Cat signing off.